hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel, okay? You don't get up in my biz, I don't get up in your biz, okay? So whatever you're here for, you're here, okay? It's been a while, okay? It's been a while since I uploaded my last video. I just haven't been reading very much, and that's mostly what I make videos about, books. So when you're not reading, it's kind of hard to make videos about books, but I'm really hoping to get back on the monthly wrap-up train because I really like doing monthly wrap-ups. I think they're a lot of fun. I like talking about the books that I read. And to do that, I have to go over all the books that I've read in the past 6 months, right, for the year. Because that's the time that I've missed. I've missed from January to now, to July. And you might be like, oh, that sounds like a really big undertaking, but it's not. I have not been reading that much. The reason why I want to get back on the monthly reading wrap-up train now is also because I've been reading a little bit more this month, so I was kind of hoping to get back on it this month. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, we'll see how it turns out. I'm going to go over the books that I've read from January to June 2024, approximately in the order that I read them. Gets a little iffy in places. Just because I read some of them so long ago, I don't really remember exactly when I read them. My reading rate has been basically 1 book a month, 1.5 books, I guess. I don't really know. So it's not a lot of books. Okay, I'm telling you, I've not been reading that much. The very first book that I read in 2024, January 2024, was Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I didn't really want to read this. I didn't intend to read it. I know that it was really big on TikTok and Bookstagram maybe a couple years ago, but I never really had any interest in it, so I was like, why should I read this? I recently picked up another one of Kerri Maniscalco's books, which is apparently set in the same universe. I cannot for the life of me remember what the name is. I know that I have the Barnes & Noble special pink edition. I'll show a picture of it here, whatever it's called. I don't fucking know. But I own that book, so I was like, well, if I'm gonna read this book, which is set in the same universe as this book, why don't I also read that book, Kingdom of the Wicked, right? So I read Kingdom of the Wicked. And it was an adventure. Okay, it was an event that happened. There was a lot going on in Kingdom of the Wicked. It's very much a YA book. It's very much a YA book, which is good and bad, it depends on what you like. I am not the biggest YA fan at this point in my life. Maybe later I will be again, but right now, oh my god. Kingdom of the Wicked is a book about witches. It's about this girl, and she's a witch, and she has a sister who's also a witch. Her sister gets murdered, I think. And then she gets involved with these embodiments of sins. They're like princes of hell, and they're kind of kooky and crazy and dangerous. But she needs to solve the mystery of who killed her sister, I think. But she also has made a pact with this one prince of hell. I think he's the Prince of Wrath. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't know. But she makes a pact with him to figure out who killed her sister. And that's the plot of the book. And I don't know. It gets kind of crazy. Okay? Anyway, let's move on from that. I gave it 2 stars. Didn't love it. Not for me. We're gonna move on now to some of the weird shit. Just get it out of the way. I think I read it pretty early in the year. I think this was also January, so this was before I canceled my Kindle Unlimited subscription. The first weird thing was Ruth's Bonded by B.C. Lancaster. I don't know. I was on this alien train. I wanted to read alien shit, and this was alien shit, so I read it. This was kind of like Ice Barbarians. It's a girl gets abducted, and then she's in this prison cell with this guy, and he's really hairy. He's like an ape, basically. He's like a Neanderthal. And she's just living in this fucking cage with him, but they fall in love, and they're mates or something. I don't know. I read this a while ago too. I don't really have much to say about it. I think the writing was really simple. And I think the story was kind of interesting. The really big thing that I do remember thinking about this book, however, was that the main the male lead, I think the male lead's name is Grons, okay? Grons is described as having patches of hair all around his body, which is just commit or don't. Commit or don't. Make him a furry or make him a naked mole rat. I don't want this patchy, gross fur. I don't like that. I don't like it when it's he's got a strip here and a strip here, but it's all naked everywhere else. And they're not normal. It's not normal hairy, okay? I love normal hairy men. I love normal hairy men. This is a rug. He's got a rug. He's got strips of rug on his arm, but in like patches. Oh my God. I just think the author should have committed. I think she should have gone all the way. VC Lancaster, this is my constructive criticism to you. I also tried reading the second book, which I don't remember the name of. Grons Faded. This is also about Ruth and Gron. I did not like Grons Faded. I didn't finish Grons Faded. Okay, I did not finish it because I was getting really angry because Ruth like was hitting Gron or whatever, and I was like, leave the physical abuse out of this. And that was Grons Faded. That's Ruth Spotted and Grons Faded. Other than that, I also reread Human Omega, Discovered on the Slave Planet, because I was really depressed. Oh my God. And I loved Human Omega, Discovered on the Slave Planet. I've talked about this book before. Okay, so that was just a lie. I have never talked about Human Omega, Discovered on the Slave Planet on this channel before. Maybe I was too embarrassed. Oh, little baby was too embarrassed to talk about Human Omega, Discovered on the Slave Planet. Oh, that's so sad. Anyway, I love this fucking book. This book is about this guy. He's like a human warrior, like way in the future, I guess. And he was captured, and he's now like a slave on this planet to like these big cockroach-like aliens, and he is trapped with two other aliens of a different breed that are basically cat furries. Okay, they're furries. Okay, they're like cats. They're big cats. They've got tails and they're furry. So they're furries. Okay, and he is stuck with them, and they like help him survive. And he doesn't know this, but they know that he's an Omega. It's a 3-book series. I read book 2 and I started book 3, but the rest of the series is not as good, I'm gonna be honest. It gets kind of complex, okay? And I just really liked it when it was like this little throuple, okay, of the furries and the guy. So, that's Human Omega, Discovered on the Slave Planet. And I gave that 5 stars, of course. I love Human Omega, Discovered on the Slave Planet. We're getting into physical books now. Yes! This is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. I read this in February. I love Becky Chambers. I love The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I love sci-fi. I love cozy sci-fi. This really seemed right up my alley, and I loved the writing in this book, but I just didn't really click with the plot. I liked the characters. I liked the setting. I liked like the robot human setup. I thought that was really cute and fun. But to me, this really felt like it felt like the kind of thing that you would, like a short story that you would find in a book about philosophy. I wanted it to be denser. I wanted it to be like a denser story. It was pretty light story-wise, and I think that's why it really feels like a short story that you would find in like a bigger book. I gave this 3 stars. Again, love Becky Chambers, love Becky Chambers' writing, love the world. Just kind of fell flat for me story-wise. Don't think it was for me. That's okay. That's life. Homeland by Aria Salvatore. This, or Salvatore, I don't know. That's not my business. This is a Dungeons and Dragons book. Through December through February, I was playing an insane amount of Baldur's Gate 3, like an insane amount, like 250 hours worth within those 3 months, which is a lot of gaming time, okay? And that was on top of like work and school. I was just in like I was in my Dungeons and Dragons phase, okay? I'm in my Dungeons and Dragons phase. I was like, I'm gonna get all the Dungeons and Dragons books. I'm gonna read all the little like novellas and like books, and like I'm gonna get all the like stories and whatever. So I was like, I'll pick up Homeland. So this is The Legend of Drizzt 1. Homeland. I fuck with it heavy, okay? I fuck with Drizzt heavy. I fuck with the book heavy. I liked the plot. Homeland is a book about this little drow. His name is Drizzt, or Drizzt. I don't know, Drizzt Do'Urden. Okay, and he's drow, and he's living in the drow world in the city of Menzoberranzan. I think that's how you say that. Life kind of sucks there, and there's a lot of like infighting, and all his life he's been told like there are evil elves on the surface that fucking hate us and they want to kill us, and he like starts realizing that maybe not all is as it seems in Menzoberranzan, and maybe he's being brainwashed. I like this book. I thought it was very fun. I thought the story was fun. It was very interesting. But Drizzt Do'Urden, even though I like him, very stereotypical like hero, and like somehow he like avoids getting brainwashed, even though like this is what everybody his whole life has been telling him. Like he's like always questioning the system, which I guess he's just too high IQ. You know what I mean? Like he's just too smart. His brain has like expanded beyond what Menzo Branson can give him from the time he was 5 years old. That's all I have to say about Homeland. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really fun. The next book I read this book in March, and it is Starter Villain by John Scalzi. I wanted to read this because I thought it was a really cute, fun idea, right? The idea is that it's like this guy who's completely normal. He's kind of down on his luck. And then he inherits his uncle's estate, and his uncle, who he didn't know very well, turns out to be like this super villain who was like ruling the world. And now it's this normal guy's job to become that super villain and like take over his uncle's estate. They're basically like, we will give you all of this if you take over your uncle's estate for like this amount of time, and as long as you act as CEO to our villain startup for this amount of time, because we need somebody to run it, and you have already made yourself known to these other supervillains who want to like kill you, and like we have to protect you, so please come with us. I thought this was going to be like a sillier version of Hench, right? Wrong. Okay, this is not a sillier version of Hench. This is like Hench if it was shit. Okay, it's not actually that bad, but it is very millennial. Very millennial humor, and then it was kind of unrealistic, kind of boring. And on that unrealistic note, people are always like, it's a fantasy book, it's not supposed to be realistic. But there are things that should be realistic in any book, right? Like, even if something is fiction, you want your characters to feel real. The characters in this one do not feel real. The main character, his house blows up in like the first 3 chapters. That's not like a huge spoiler, okay? That doesn't happen like way in, okay? It's early on. His house blows up, and he's just kind of like, damn, that sucks. Wouldn't you be a little more worried? Shouldn't you be worried about your livelihood in your house, girl? Your house is fucking gone. Not for me. It was really not a book for me, okay? I didn't think it was funny. Didn't think that was that interesting. The plot was cool, and there were cool things going on. There were cool ideas. I just didn't love it, so I gave this one 2 stars. The next book that I read was The City of Ember by Jeanne DuPrau. Okay, this is a children's book. This is middle grade. I read this a long time ago, okay, when I was in like 2nd grade, and I noticed that we had it on our shelves, and I was like, well, maybe I'll read it again. So I did, and I'm definitely a little too old for it now. You know what I mean? I've definitely grown out of the City of Ember. But I still love the City of Ember. I think the City of Ember has one of the most interesting settings that you could ever possibly have in a children's book, or really any book of all time. You know what I mean? Like, it's so cool. This is a book about 2 children who live in the city of Ember. Ember is a city that is like shrouded in complete darkness. The only way that they like know when it's daytime is that they have big floodlights that come on. Recently, the floodlights have not been working so well. And the city as a whole has kind of been running out of supplies. It's really on its like last leg. And it's kind of a big mystery about like what the City of Ember is, where the City of Ember is, and like how they can get out of the City of Ember. And it's really interesting, and it's great, but the writing, a little too simplistic for me. Okay, I'm not a baby. Look at me. So I'm not a baby, and this book was too baby for me. But it was also really good, really interesting, super cool setting. And just on the principle of it being like that cool, and knowing that I found it like so insanely cool when I was a child. Like, I loved this book when I was a baby, and I was right. Okay, I was right. It is really cool, but it is written for children. So 8-year-old me loved it a lot more than I love it now, but I still give it 4 stars because it holds a special place in my heart, and I love it. That's everything. And that's all the books that I read in the past 6 months. So far in July, I've read 3. Well, okay. Technically 2, but I'm like halfway through another book, and that'll be 3. So hopefully by the end of the month, I will have read at least 5. And if I have, I will make another wrap-up video. That is like specific to July instead of being like a 6-month span thing. Otherwise, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming. Give me recommendations if you have any. Give me your thoughts. If you read any of these books and you have your thoughts on them, you can leave them in the comments below. If you hate me, I'm sorry, man. Bye.